for the speech.
Hi everyone, my name is Maria and I'm an organizer with the Party for Socialism and Liberation here in Portland. So we are here today because for 147 days the United States has been funding a genocide with our tax dollars. We are here today because last week the United States once again used its veto power to block a ceasefire resolution in the UN. That's right. We are here because this week Israeli soldiers opened fire on an aid convoy, killing at least 117 people who were desperately seeking food, as at least 500,000 Palestinians are on the brink of starvation, and as Israel threatens to invade Rafah, where 1.5 million Palestinians are trapped in place, with the approval of our government. That's right. We are here today because we are heartbroken by what we are seeing in Gaza. We are devastated, and we are angry. Are you angry?
Yeah!
That's right, you should be angry. No matter how much our government tries to normalize or distract from what is going on in Gaza, we refuse to become numb to the horrific crimes against humanity we are witnessing day after day after day.
Yeah.
We are here today because we and the millions around the world who stand with us are people of conscience. We believe in the value of all life, in dignity, in social justice. What dignity, what recognition of human value is there in a world that allows over 30,000 Palestinian people to be murdered? What is socially just about the starvation and disease running rampant in Gaza right now? What dignity can there be for traumatized people shivering in their tents, packed into Rafah, in the most densely populated place, as bombs begin to rain down on people seeking food from long-awaited aid trucks? Where is the humanity in our commander-in-chief refusing to even acknowledge the death of active duty serviceman Aaron Bushnell? The answer is there is none. There is no possible justification for the crime of genocide. And for people who believe in dignity and social justice, like all of us here right now, the only place for us to be is in the streets. It is clear that the people of the United States and the people of the world stand against genocide. Even the International Court of Justice has echoed many of our demands. So why has genocide stopped? The truth is, and we are all seeing it, that the United States is not a democracy. Right. The truth is that the U.S. is not concerned with people's freedoms, or lives, or democracy, or dignity, or justice. The U.S. is only concerned with power, and Israel is the watchdog for the U.S. in the region, an essential ally to imperialist domination and access to resources. As Joe Biden once famously said, if there wasn't an Israel in the region already, the U.S. would have to create one. That's right. And that is precisely why the U.S. is comfortable ignoring our calls for a ceasefire and ignoring the International Court of Justice calling for an end to the atrocities in Palestine and ignoring at least 30,000 dead Palestinian people. It is why the ICJ said to ensure that humanitarian aid could get into Gaza, and instead the U.S. cut funding to the UNRWA, the agency that serves over 6 million Palestinians worldwide. This is not a democracy. They lie to us and they try to distract us. They want us to argue amongst ourselves, to split our organizations, and to forget about the real issue here. The issue of our government's complicity in one of the worst crimes against humanity in modern history. They want us to forget who the real enemy is. They want us to accept that this is just the way things work, that massacres and forced starvations and the murder of more than 30,000 people is just the cost of doing business. But business for them is death and destruction for us. Is this what we want? Is this what we stand for? No. This is not a democracy when the will of the people gets ignored, when massacres get carried out in our name. But we cannot be defeated and we cannot hang our heads low. The Palestinian people resist, so we must resist. And history shows us that we can defeat the imperialists, the apartheid regime, the murderers, and the war criminals. But to overcome this tremendous injustice, to fight for an end to these brutal systems, we must know that we are in it for as long as it takes. It will require dedication and perseverance. It will require commitment and organization. Will we be dedicated? Yes! Will we persevere? Yes! Will we commit? Yes! Will we organize? Yes, we will. We will organize to hit them where it hurts. And we will continue to organize until we have a permanent ceasefire, an end to U.S. aid to Israel, an end to the occupation, and finally a free Palestine! Free Palestine! Free Palestine! We won't support you anymore! So thank you for showing up, Portland. I'm going to call up our next speaker from the Democratic Socialists of America, Jesse.
Good afternoon, comrades.
Good afternoon.
My name is Jesse Dreyer, and I am a proud Jewish socialist, a rank-and-file Teamster, and the outgoing co-chair of Portland DSA. We meet here today 5 months into the gravest humanitarian crisis of our lifetimes. Backed by all the most powerful countries of the world, Israel is aiming to complete its colonization of Palestine. In Gaza, where millions of Palestinians live without freedom of movement, democratic rights, or control over their lives, the Israeli invasion has turned to wholesale slaughter. Just this week, 100 more Palestinians were gunned down in line waiting for bread. These crimes are committed by our government at our expense. Money that could be spent on housing, food, and schools is spent on the slaughter and starvation of children instead of improving our lives. Our government is destroying Palestinian lives. Now we watch in horror as the next phase of this violence begins, the invasion of Rafah, where Palestinians have been forced to flee. We must recognize this for exactly what it is. An attempt to enforce colonial genocide in all of Israel and Palestine. But it doesn't have to be like this. In the face of such overwhelming horror, there are points from which to draw hope. This week in Michigan, 100,000 people voted uncommitted. The clearest sign yet that Americans are coming to reject the pro-plural policy of Joe Biden. Just to our north, in Washington, in the ongoing primary, organizers are again rallying for an uncommitted vote. If you live in Washington and are voting in the Democratic primary, what are you voting for? That's right. The vote in Michigan should remind us we are not alone. All the world's powers stand on one side of this fight, but the people increasingly stand with Palestine. This was shown again by the death of Aaron Bushnell. Aaron was a military man. He'd spent years of his life serving the kind of violence we see right now. But something happened to Aaron that is happening to people around the world. Aaron saw the true face of the war machine and could not bear it. And so, this military man did the only thing he could think to do. In an act of protest, he set himself alight and gave his life in the hope that in dying, he could awaken this country to the slaughter we are carrying out. His death was not in vain. People are coming to understand. They understand that our country's leaders wage wars for the profits of big business at the expense of the working class. They understand that we have more in common with Palestinians than we do with anyone in the ruling class. People are coming to understand that this war is wrong and the whole system that created it is wrong. I grew up in Washington, D.C., not far from the embassy where Aaron died. Washington, D.C. is a city filled with death. Most days, it is not as visible as he made it. Most days, people are consigned to death on scraps of paper signed by lawmakers. But just as surely as it is murder to aim a gun and pull the trigger, it is murder to provide the bullet. It is murder to provide the bombs. It is murder to block the food and medicine. It is murder to back a war when the whole world cries for ceasefire. And just as surely as it is genocide, what Israel is doing in Palestine, it is genocide for Joe Biden to back them to the hilt, and genocide to stand idly by while it happens. But let me say again, it does not have to be this way. There are so many senators with hands soaked in blood in Washington, D.C. Yes. But there are so many normal people too. Just like Portland, just like Rafah, just like all who stand today across the world in solidarity with Palestine. There are people every day locked out of power, but hoping always for a better life. Most of these people aren't born understanding that war is wrong. They might join the military. They might never come to a protest until one day they understand, just like we've come to understand, that a war on any of us is a war on all of us. That's right. We know who's committing this genocide. We know who's supporting this genocide. That's right.
Yeah.
Genocide Joe has got to go. Genocide Joe has got to go. Genocide Joe has got to go. Not another nickel, not another dime. No more money for Israel's crimes. Not another nickel, not another dime. No more money for Israel's crimes. Not another nickel, not another dime. No more money for Israel's crimes. Not another nickel, not another dime. No more money for Israel's crimes. I just want to reiterate that last point Jesse made. Today is not the end. All these organizations that have been organizing these events week after week for 5, 6, 7 months are going to keep being out here and keep organizing. And we can't do it without y'all. We need y'all to keep showing up. We need you to bring your family, your friends, your coworkers. And if you're interested in joining the fight on a more serious level, please come talk to any of the organizers for this event. Now we'll be hearing from Molly with Jewish Voice for Peace.
Thank you. So many people here, and that makes me terribly nervous and also terribly glad to see all of you here. So thank you all for showing up. Appreciate you all. I stand up here as an anti-Zionist Jewish person from a long lineage of anti-Zionist Jews before me and an ever-growing number of anti-Zionist Jews to come after, who reject Zionism with every bone in my body as the racist, fascist, colonial ideology that it is. For almost 5 months and almost 76 years, we have watched in horror as Israel has committed genocide against Palestinian people with impunity. We have watched as Israeli soldiers have murdered almost 13,000 children in cold blood. We have watched as the Israeli government has called Palestinians human animals and called for Gaza to be turned into a parking lot. We have watched as Israeli settlers have celebrated like bloodthirsty cheerleaders the mass slaughter of over 30,000 Palestinian people. And we have seen this all done with the full-throated support of the United States government and Butcher Biden, who shells out billions of dollars in military aid to Israel while eating his ice cream cone. Who proudly calls himself a Zionist and alleges his unshakable support for the Jewish people and the security of Israel and its right to exist. But, and I say this
with every Jewish bone in my body, which is all of them, Israel does not have a right to exist. Jewish people, of course, have a right to exist.
Definitely.
Palestinian people, of course, have a right to exist. But murderous, fascist ethno-states do not have that right. Israel is a terrorist state that was built upon the bones and blood-stained land of Palestinian people who were violently forced from their homes in order to create a strategic military outpost and a gas station for the Western Empire in the Middle East. Israel claims to promote Jewish safety, but they have made it crystal clear that their only adherence is to the cult of Zionism. Because make no mistake, the Zionist agenda has always been about fomenting anti-Semitism around the world so that Jews are less safe in other countries, thus driving Jewish immigration to Israel. Woo! They admit this outright. Just look up the Havara Agreement between German Zionists and the Nazi Party.
Yes! Yes!
Just listen to the words of Joseph Herzl, the founder of Zionism, who said, "Anti-Semites will become our most dependable friends. The anti-Semitic countries, our allies." Or the words of Ezer Weizmann, former president of Israel, who when asked about the lives, dreams, and fears of American Jews, said they should either come and live here or they should go to hell. Yeah. So as long as the Zionist colonial project continues its genocidal campaign against Palestinians under the pretense of protecting Jewish safety and defending its right to exist, at the very least, I have a responsibility as a Jew to say, not in my name. To say that Israel does not make Jews safe, nor does it represent all Jews. To say that Palestinians have a right to resist their occupation by any means necessary. To say that Israel does not have a right to exist. Now, I'd like to leave with the words of the beloved Palestinian poet, activist, and teacher Rafah al-Arir, who is known for, among many, many things, his poem, "If I Must Die." Now, in an interview on October 10th, which was less than 2 months before he was killed by an Israeli airstrike along with his family, Rafat said, "The only hope we have is in the growing popular support in America, in the human rights movement, to take to the streets, to pressure politicians into putting an end to this dark, dark episode of not only the history of the Middle East, but also of the history of humanity. So my message to the people of the free world is to move to pressure, to mobilize, and to take to the streets." So despite the fatigue and hopelessness that we're all feeling, the feelings of futility from nearly 5 months of living through this dystopian hellscape, we must continue to pressure, we must continue to mobilize, and we must continue to take to the streets. Because in the words of Rafat, "If I must die, you must live to tell my story."